This week in Shrinkflation, I'd like to hone in on one thing, eggs. We're going to talk about some other shrinkflation afterwards, but the first half or whatever of this video is going to be about egg prices and why they're going up and why the bird flu is really not the reason. And we're going to go over this article from 2023, which came out after the first egg crisis and has some data that I find very interesting. Now, it's not the flu, feed, or fuel. Profiteering is driving record egg prices. And this is what we're seeing right now with the avian flu supposedly making eggs even more expensive than they were in 2022, actually, for some reason. And that reason is money. Now, I'd like to go over some select bits of this story, starting from here. Bum, 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 bum. What's behind the skyrocketing retail price of the incredible egg? Well, for one thing, the skyrocketing wholesale price of that egg between January 2022 and December 2022, all right? Wholesale egg prices went from 144 cents for a dozen to 503 cents for a dozen. This was the highest ever recorded for wholesale eggs. Over the entire year, wholesale eggs averaged 82.4 cents per dozen. When we consider that the retail egg prices for the same year were only about 3 cents higher at 285.7 cents per dozen, it becomes clear that the primary contributor to rising egg prices at the grocery store has been the dramatic increase in the wholesale price charged by egg producers. May seem obvious. If this gives you hope that relief might be around the corner because you've heard something about a recent collapse in wholesale egg prices, sadly your hopes will be misplaced because these aren't going to get cheaper. Despite this much ballyhooed collapse, and this is about an old collapse, but this applies today, the average wholesale egg price has simply gone from 4 to 5 times what it was in January of last year to 2 to 3 times that number. If that wasn't enough, prices are expected to spike again when egg demand picks up. Ultimately, the USDA average will be 207 cents a dozen, but that doesn't really apply. Here's the information we really want to get to. Are you wondering who sets the wholesale prices? Why? An oligopoly, of course. The production of eggs in America is dominated by a handful of companies. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. A handful of companies led by Cal-Maine Foods, whose information I just clicked on. With nearly 47 million egg-laying hens, Cal-Maine controls approximately 20% of the national supply and dwarfs its nearest competitor. The leading firms in the industry have a history of engaging in cartelistic conspiracies to limit production, split markets, and increase prices for consumers. In fact, a jury found such a conspiracy existed as of 2018, and a wide-ranging lawsuit was brought just a couple years ago, including several of the largest egg producers, including Cal-Maine, of colluding to increase prices during the COVID-19 pandemic, which they did, allegedly. When asked about the multiplying price of their product, these dominant egg producers and their industry association, the American Egg Board, aka the devil, if you want to blame anybody, you should obviously we should all just send letters to the American Egg Board and tell them that they're the fucking devil. But anyway, have insisted it's entirely out of their control. An avian outbreak and rising costs of things like feed and fuel, they say, caused egg prices to rise all on their own. And sure enough, those were real headaches, okay? I'm not going to say avian flu is not a problem, but the math doesn't quite add up. Okay, so here's the 2022 numbers. About 43 million egg-laying hens were lost to bird flu through December 2022, and input costs for producers certainly increased over 2021, meaning they had to buy more chickens or produce more chickens or whatever, hatch, I don't know what they do. As my organization, Farm Action, blah, 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 the reality, we argued, is that wholesale egg prices did not triple in 2022 and aren't projected to stay elevated through 2023 and now 2024 and 2025 because of a supply chain act of God type stuff, which should be evidenced to you by the fact that this is the third time it's happening in 5 years. So it's not an act of God if the prices are spiking for the third time in 5 years, and there's been no other act of God to really hit it. Yeah. Is it really profiteering? Yes, it's really just profiteering. According to the industry's leading firms, rising egg prices should be blamed on 2 things: avian flu and input costs. Obviously, everybody says avian flu egg prices go up. That's what people think. We can stipulate for the sake of argument that if a massive amount of egg production and hence potential revenue were lost due to an avian flu, the largest producers would be justified in trying to recoup some of the lost revenue by raising prices. Likewise, if a sharp rise in egg production costs, we can stipulate that producers would be justified in trying to pass them on to wholesale customers. But was there a nosedive in egg productions? Did the cost of egg inputs multiply dramatically? Short answer, no and no. The bottom line on the avian flu outbreak is that it simply did not, and right now it's currently not, having a substantial effect on egg production. That's why there's always eggs there, even though they're $8.99 a dozen. There's plenty there. Although about 43 million egg-laying hens were lost, they weren't lost all at once. That's the important thing. They cull them over time. They don't kill all their chickens at the same time. And there were always over 300 million chickens laying eggs throughout the year. So they never dipped below 300 million. The monthly size of the nation's flock of egg-laying hens in 22 was, on average, only 4.8% smaller on a year-over-year basis. So they lost 4.8% of their hatching egg-laying chickens. If that isn't enough, the effect of losing those hens on production was itself blunted by record high lay rates throughout the year, which were, on average, 1.7% higher than the lay rates observed between 2017 and 2021, which means with substantially the same number of hens laying eggs faster than ever, the industry's total egg production in 2022 was only 2.98% lower than in 2021. So they lost, their production went down 2.98%, and obviously there is an exponential effect on the price through the supply chain, whatever. I get that, but not to the effect that it's gone. And the answer is not going to surprise you. It's they can get away with it. That's why they're doing it. Turning to input costs, it's true they were higher in 2022 than 2021, but not that much higher. Farm production costs at Cal-Maine Foods, the only egg producer that publishes financial data as a publicly traded company, because they have to, which, you know, that could change. But they have to, as a publicly traded company, lay out their financials so we can look at them. Increased by approximately 20% between 2021 and 2022. Their total cost of sales went up by a little over 40%. At the same time, Cal-Maine produced roughly the same number of eggs in 2022 as it did in 2021. If we are to take Cal-Maine's as the bellwether for the industry's largest firms, which is fair since they own 20% of it, we can be pretty sure that the dominant egg producers didn't experience anywhere near enough inflation in egg production costs to account for threefold increase in wholesale egg prices. Against the backdrop of these facts, the industry's narrative simply crumbles. It's clear that neither rising input costs nor a drop in production due to avian flu is the primary contributor. What has been the primary contributor, you ask? Profits, lots of profits. And this is easy to prove because you can see all the profits that the companies made in 2022 and 2023, which is why it's insane to me that right now we have all the big news firms, everybody you see on media everywhere saying, hey, eggs are going up because of the avian flu, when it's just a straight up bullshit lie that we've already figured out, again, because this is from 2023. This was already exposed by people who are doing the actual journalism, but unfortunately the things that you see on the news are just, you know, the narrative that they want you to see. So it is what it is. This is the real numbers. Cal-Maine Foods, for example, increased in lockstep with rising egg prices through every quarter of the year. They went from 92 million in the quarter ending in February 26th, 2022, to approximately 195 million in May 28th, 2022, to more than 217 million ending August 27th, to just under 318 million on November 26th. Look at that. They magically made triple the money profit-wise when they tripled their egg prices and blamed it on the avian flu. They didn't lose any money. It turns out they made 3 times as much money when they raised the price 3 times. Very funny. The most telling data point, however, is this. For the 26-week period ending on November 26, 2022, in other words, for the 6 months following the height of the avian flu outbreak in March and April, Cal-Maine reported a 5-fold increase in its gross margin and a 10-fold increase in its gross profits compared to the same period. So not 3 times, 10 times. Considering the number of eggs Cal-Maine sold during this period was roughly the same as the year before, it follows that essentially all of this profit came from higher prices. Yes, that's it. It's a very simple math. When you consider the fact that this company, Cal-Maine, sold roughly the same eggs in 2021 as they did in 2022, but made 10 times the profit, that's all you really need to know. All the rest of it is a fucking smokescreen. That's it. That's all you really need to know. You gotta look for the real people who are causing you trouble, which are the egg companies who are monopolizing the egg industry, so that they can charge whatever the fuck they want. And that's it. Now, that's not really a shrinkflation thing, but I had to start with it because I'm tired of hearing people fucking talk about egg prices and say stupid shit over and over. I don't want to hear about the avian flu ever again. I see the numbers. I read the story now that currently they have not killed enough chickens for the prices to be what they are. Not even close. But here we are. And eggs, obviously, I can't just stop buying eggs. It's pretty much impossible. It's a big part of my diet, and I'm not going to just stop eating eggs, and they know that. So that's where we are. And the only way to solve this problem is to let it be known. The fact is, most people, again, just assume it's the avian flu and deal with it. No, it's the money. If you put a sign in front of the egg, let me put it like this. This is what I want. I want every grocery store to put a sign up, like you see how they have this sign right here. Our suppliers have increased the prices on their eggs, which is causing higher prices for our customers. I like that, but I want them to be more direct. I want them to say our suppliers raised the price on their eggs 3 times for literally no reason other than profits. We aren't making any more money on these eggs than we were 6 months ago. It's just the company that is selling this to them. Fuck them. Please email them at this number or call them at this number. Put that sign up, and let's see how many people will respond to that, because it will be a lot. I bet you will see many, 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 many people who would respond to that call of action if they saw that sign in their grocery store in front of the eggs, because that's the only way I think people are going to notice. But of course, that's not going to happen because grocery stores have their own monopoly. And they don't want to fuck with the egg monopoly. They're fine with it. They're still making money. It doesn't really affect them at all, other than a little bit of optics, but otherwise it doesn't really matter to them. They're still making the same money, while the egg companies are making, 5 to 10 times more. So that's the egg story for this year. I got a couple, or not this year, this week. I got some other shrinkflation examples up here I want to go over real quick, including some ones I missed last week. Starting with Lowry's garlic salt, now with 30% more salt. That is just fucking horrible. Lowry's garlic salt is something I've long bought. It's like a staple. It's a pantry staple. Even recipes sometimes call for specifically Lowry's garlic salt. I think it's probably the #1 brand of garlic salts. And they are not only cheaping out, they're also making it way worse for you by increasing the salt and decreasing the parsley and garlic, which is terrible. This is why he buys his granulated garlic and salt separately. That would be the ideal, but garlic salt is such a pantry staple that I'm just genuinely pissed off at this, and I will not buy Lowry's garlic salt again. That's my personal pledge to the world. I personally will not buy Lowry's garlic salt. I'll just buy a different brand of garlic salt. Even if it's more money, just because fuck Lowry's. They're the best. I will continue to buy Lowry's seasoned salt, however, because I can't not do that. Because it's a staple, and there isn't really a good alternative. Unless somebody has a good alternative for me for Lowry's seasoned salt that's cheap, maybe I'll try it out. But I'm not going to make that promise on Lowry's seasoned salt. But every other Lowry's product, it can fucking disappear. Except for the seasoned salts. I'm gonna boycott the rest. Not that it matters. Against the Grain Pizza, a brand I've never heard of, but when you look at this box, you look at this, you see our original cheese baked crust, proudly baked in Vermont, nut-free pesto. human company, gluten free, blah blah blah. It looks, it screams quality. It says that it's a good brand that really cares about their pizza, but then they go from 24 to 22.4 ounces, which makes the pizza actually smaller than the platter that it comes in the box, which they didn't show a picture of that, but I can understand that for sure. And then you see the very obvious explanation. This had been an independent, higher quality maker, but now it's part of a larger brand portfolio, meaning they got bought by a corporation and they're trash now. So if you were ever a fan of Against the Grain Gourmet Pizza, I guess you can safely not be a fan of that ever again, because they sold out. So fuck them. Let's move on to Margaret Holmes Tomatoes, Okra, and Corn. This one really stood out to me specifically because of the deviousness of it, because you have a mix of tomatoes, okra, and corn. And she poured it out. There's literally like 2 pieces of okra in this entire can. It's 90% tomatoes, which this should be something that should be legally investigated, in my opinion. I'm not sure how the ingredients label is on the back. I'm sure okra is probably the last ingredient, and is technically the least amount in the can, but this is ridiculous. This should not be allowed. When you compare the can, which clearly shows the okra in the same proportion as the tomato and corn, but it's not. So that's just blatant scammery from Margaret Holmes, as far as I'm concerned. Keep hitting McRipoff where it hurts. This note, I don't know if this is real. I feel like this might be made just to specifically rage bait people, and myself included, as a note that's basically telling McDonald's workers to get to work, and that they're going to have all this stuff, that they're basically going to be treated like shit, which they already are, but even worse, is insane to me. And then putting that putting the slowing of sales, let's say, on the staff of a fucking McDonald's restaurant, like that even matters. It doesn't matter who works at a fucking McDonald's. The people going to McDonald's, they go to McDonald's. The reason people aren't going is because it's too expensive. It's not because the employees weren't working hard enough. That it's ridiculous. It's so fucking stupid, and horrifying to even read this. That I hope that this isn't real, and if it is, I hope the manager who wrote it gets struck by lightning. Let's move on. Dawn dish soap watered down. Pretty sure I've noticed that Dawn dish soap's viscosity has gone down, as in it's more watery and fluid than it used to be anybody else. Personally, yes, I agree. I've been buying Dawn. I'm a Dawn person. I'd say for the last, I don't know, year, it's been ass. Like, Dawn is fucking, it's been trash. I go through a bottle way faster than I ever used to. I used to get a big bottle of Dawn. It would last months and months. Now I feel like a big bottle of Dawn only lasts like 1 month, and the whole reason I would buy Dawn, and I would pay more for Dawn specifically because it would last forever. That was the idea. I just stopped buying the cheap soaps and started buying Dawn many years ago to save money, which it did at that time, because a $1 bottle of fucking Ajax would last like a week, whereas a $5 bottle of Dawn would last 6 months. But now it's not the case. It feels like they're basically the same as fucking cheap soap. And the reason probably being that they have Dawn Platinum and all that shit, so they made their other shit worse. I mean, the fact that Dawn Platinum exists should tell you that Dawn, as it is not the same. Because it can't be, because they have Dawn Platinum. So they have to have something better, and even Dawn Platinum sucks ass as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, so stop buying Dawn soap. I don't know what exactly changed, but it's shit now, and everybody knows it. Rana, this one personally hurts me a little bit. Rana products were some of the first things I reviewed on YouTube. I really liked their products. I liked the idea of their refrigerated meals, their refrigerated lasagnas and stuff. I really enjoy their lasagna, but they have been getting out of line with the prices. They've raised their prices. They've shrunk their foods over the years. And now they're to the point where it is ridiculous. I was looking, this specific meal I was actually looking at buying to maybe review the other day at Walmart. I was looking to buy and review this one. I didn't buy it because it was like $9.98. and it's 19 ounces, which is not enough food for two people, which is all I wanted. It's insane. This is barely enough, and like this guy says, that's like enough for one person in terms of raviolis, and not even close to the amount that's on the picture, of course. But 19 ounces of food, it's just not enough for two people. It's maybe a little bit too much for one person, but not in this case because it's not even enough for one person. It's just insane how far Rana has fallen. Giovanni Rana, they came onto the scene hot, but they've fallen off very quick as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, Rana products, they're falling off hard. I don't know if I'm gonna be buying them anymore. This is a great picture. Here we have a 5-year-old roll of toilet paper, a standard roll of toilet paper, and the new and improved Cottonelle Chip and Putt, which is funny. Usually I would ask if they're shitting me with this, but clearly they aren't. Great guy. Mickler83, fantastic work here. But this is a very telling image of what that toilet paper used to literally be taller, which is something I thought was more of a conspiracy thing. I was like, no. But it's true. There were, people have posted many pictures of older toilet paper rolls that were clearly taller, and you can tell now. Even I can tell. I live in a house that was built, in the 80s. The toilet paper roll holder, is built into the side of the cabinet. I'm sure most people have a toilet paper roll holder in their, bathroom, and the toilet paper, it doesn't fit the space. It's clearly fit. The space is clearly for a taller roll of toilet paper. It was built for that taller roll, and it shrunk, and it doesn't even look right. It looks skimpy on the roll, which is wrong for toilet paper. So just an interesting photo here, and also them making the tube bigger so that a golf ball wouldn't fit before, but it will now. That's an interesting shrinkflation bit to note. So they can get you both ways by making the tube bigger and cutting down on the amount of sheets. They can save money on both sides, and fuck you two ways time, I guess. Kraft Dinner, this is the Canadian version, I should say. They don't call it Kraft Dinner in America, it's just Kraft Macaroni and Cheese. But from what I understand from some Canadian people that I've interacted with, Kraft Dinner is like a staple product in Canada. It's like a classic, something that basically everybody, knows and loves kind of thing. And them fucking with it seems insane to me, but here it is. 25 grams less, and probably change the recipe. Who knows? And let's read Kraft's response to that, which I've read before. But I want to read it again because it's the most insulting thing ever. I read this before, but here we go. We changed our packaging in an effort to bring quality products to our consumers at the most affordable price. We all know the prices are increasing on everything from gasoline to corn to automobiles and to houses. As costs go up, companies often find that they must raise prices to maintain high quality. The alternative to raising the price of any given product is to offer the product in a slightly smaller size. When we reduce the size of a product, it allows us to offer the product to our customer at the best affordable price point. We appreciate you sharing your concerns with us, and we will forward your comments. And then, if you haven't done so already, please add our sites to your favorites, which is the funniest thing on earth to me. Who the fuck is going to add it to their favorites? But this guy sums it up pretty well. What an eloquently worded variation of "we're providing less for more." Yeah, it's a bunch of corporate speak, which, not good corporate speak. I would not want to, if I was in charge of Kraft Heinz, the person who wrote this would be getting, talking to, because it's a little fucking condescending. But yeah, that's their response, I guess, is to condescend. This one, I can't really, like this guy said, I feel like no one would have ever found this out unless you did this. I cannot, confirm the veracity of this. This guy is doing crazy research. As he says, he won't really be able to calculate the efficiency, but he can calculate that they are in fact lighter. Whether that's a bad thing or not is unknown at this point, but based on, the way the world works, it's definitely worse. So we can count on that. Taco Bell, my old friends, put out the grilled cheese dipping burritos last week, which I didn't review. Specifically because they're so fucking expensive for what you get. When I switch this picture and you see what the grilled cheese burritos look like in reality, It's hard not to laugh at the picture and how big they are, which is like not even the size of a taco, like a Doritos Locos taco. They're not even. They're like half the size. They're little. I don't even know what you could call them. They're like the size of a can of soda, I guess, but thinner. They're a thinner can of soda, and they're charging $4.99 for that, which is disgusting in every sense of the word. Taco Bell has obviously fallen off in these last few years. Everybody knows that, but they keep getting worse and worse, and no signs of stopping. So I can't wait until their next limited time item, which is probably going to be fucking horrible or insanely expensive or both. So we'll find out. And then finally, our last story, Juicy Fruit Gum. I put this one on here, and one of the comments, this comment resonated with me very well. Of all the examples of shrinkflation, this one easily makes me the most upset. And I kind of agree on a visceral level. This one makes me the most upset because it's so blatant and in your face and such an obvious scam move to just flatten the plastic on one piece of the candy, the gum. It's like they do with pharmaceuticals, but you expect it when you buy, a pharmaceutical. You're even kind of mad when you buy, I don't know, I can't think of anything, Zantac or whatever, and you see that there's like 5 spots in the foil where there could have been 8. But this is just next level. Machine stamped plastic in the corner instead of putting in a piece of gum, which I imagine costs less than a cent to produce, and it's amazing. So shout out to Juicy Fruit. The gum of my childhood, one that I bought all the time. I would get the big ass pack for 99 cents, sticks of gum, not this bullshit Tic Tac gum. Sticks of gum, thick ass sticks of gum, and I loved it. So that makes me really sad that Juicy Fruit is so bad now, not only taste wise and form wise. I don't like the kind of Tic Tac gum thing. I hate it. I miss sticks of gum. Um, they also screw you out of one piece, which is fucking hilarious to me. So yeah, that's the end of this video on shrinkflation. Hopefully you learned something new. You got a new company to hate, and you feel like bitching and complaining, because that's what we should all do. And with that, I'll see you all next time.